Hey, everybody. Getting the sound of Philadelphia today. I'm tired as shit. and like in a good way, though. You know how when you like things are going like just gangbusters, but you're realizing like, wow, I'm accomplishing a lot, or we are accomplishing a lot in the case of Indie Agency News. Very proud of where we are at the moment, but the past few weeks and the upcoming weeks are just fantastic. We had a show-off event in my hometown, Indie Agency News HQ in Portland, Oregon at Reid, the growth agency, one of the very best agency spaces I've ever seen. And look at the color of my hair. I've been around a minute. It's beautiful. Beautiful space. Jane, thank you. Heather, thank you. And thank you to Path Labs for supporting that. They will be supporting our next one next week in Nashville. 5 minutes to show off work. Anything you want to show off. And then it's just a nice little party. So we're going to Nashville. Thank you to Lewis Communications for hosting us at that. Now, a reminder that Indie Agency News, The Brief, build the global home for independent agencies. The mission, serve independent agencies and the brilliant people behind them. The goal is more visibility for indies, more choice for marketers. To our 300-plus agency members, thank you very much for supporting this mission. If you'd like to learn more, go to the join page. Lots of information there, including FAQs, but you can get in touch with me very easily. Now, one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is, yes, we are a trade publication, but we are also a service. Not only do we cover you, we are here to serve you. And we also have our preferred partner program. So instead of a bunch of banner ads that y'all are going to ignore, we have preferred partners. So people that come to us that that really want to work with independent agencies, they have to prove they work with indies and specifically work with Indie Agency News members. One of which, bring them to stage here, and they've been my attorneys here in Portland, but they work nationally. Mystique Legal. Been working with them for a number of years, and so I want to start with this though. This is very quick and important thought. So think about your SOW, your service agreement, or your statement of work. So are you leaving the door open for scope creep? Don't we all love a little scope creep? No, we don't. What about payment disputes? You've got out of control clients, excessive IP risks. No one wants that. So here is something from our preferred partner, Mystique Legal. They offer a free report card. So this is an analysis. They'll review and rate your MSA and SOW against more than 50 criteria across 9 different categories. Then you get a report outlining what they liked, what concerned them, and where you can improve. So go to our preferred partner page. You'll scroll down, and you'll see Mystique Legal right there, and you'll be able to scroll down, get your free report card. They promise their grades are fair. It might not be a grade you want to see, but you know what? Better to learn that now than later. Find out more at mystique.legal, or like I said, go to our preferred partners at indieagency.partners, or you can just go to the homepage and click on over there. All right. Today, we're jargoning it up a little bit. Katie Reid joining us. let me find the article we did. Let me just fade out the music a little bit. We're getting funky today. My family's from the Philadelphia area, therefore. If I had known like you were in Miami, I would have done a little I do have some low bass that
okay.
It's
never too late.
Your ears pricked up at that. You were like,
yeah.
Where the hell? Oh, there it is. Okay. So Katie Reid, creative director at Founders, one of our great members with offices in the United States, but also in Mexico City. So have you gone down to Mexico City yet?
Of course. It's one of my favorite cities on the planet.
Okay. So the food down there, I hear, like, because it's usually like people are like, I went to Mexico and oh my God, the buffet. But when you go into Mexico City, there's like all these little secret like places and out of the way places that are pretty incredible. So,
Absolutely.
so you're going to have to hold that. But here's what we did. So we wrote a little something. Now, I want to get into the gist of why you even did this in the first place, because you are an instructor at Miami Ad School. The Ad Dictionary, a collection of scary words that should not be scary. Run us through why you even did this in the first place.
Yeah, I think it was a thought that I've kind of always have had. I mean, it started when I was at FSU taking advertising classes, and I was like, what do these words mean? And then I just kind of like, I just kept going, because you don't want to be that person that's like, what are we saying here? I feel like this is a second language. And then saw a bit of that in Miami Ad School too. And then just like navigating the agency world. I mean, I've been at Founders for 5 years, and there are still acronyms that I come across and I'm like, what are we doing? Why do we make this so complicated? And for a creative director, it's a little less scary, but like for somebody who's just starting out, it's terrifying. I mean, just like it's all so new, and then on top of that, having to learn the language. So I think all of that kind of culminated, and it kind of like boiled up to me just being like, okay, I'm going to do something. And then my students at Miami Ad School Punta Cana kind of like were the catalyst for that too, because they're so talented and their ideas are so good. And I would give them a brief and they'd be like, what is a deck? And so, it's just like, we'd have to pause and explain it. It's one of those things where we should explain the upfront so that we don't have to like explain it down the road, and we can just get to ideating.
I teach at Portland State University, and I think I'm going to add this to the curriculum. Do you have enough copies? Is really the question.
Yeah, I mean, I do.
A couple hundred.
I self-published, so I did it through like All
right, we'll figure it out.
It's like an on-demand print thing.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah, we can figure it out.
We'll work it out. You put a big curse word in here, Ogilvy. You put a huge.
Oh, yeah, I did. I did not bleep that out.
Where's McCann? Is McCann? That's a curse word. Where's that? Oh, McCann doesn't exist anymore. None of them exist anymore. Oh,
it's also a lot easier to say than Ogilvy.
McCann. Yeah.
It's a little more phonetic.
Sorry, all of you that are still at the Holdcos. So one of the things that you talk about is because it is a big barrier and it can feel really, really intimidating. And I think that we as an industry, I think part of it is we move so fast sometimes that we forget that we have to slow down and pause, especially for younger and newer. And I think the one thing that's really important to point out too is you can't presume or assume that even professionals know what some of this language is. Like, listen, I love programmatic people, but when they start like throwing acronyms out, I'm just like, what? But language is such an important thing. And so especially for if you want to break barriers, you want to make it accessible. I mean, what do you think is the business cost of intimidating jargon like this? Because it's like if you intimidate somebody who's super talented because they didn't know what work in progress meant, a great agency and a member of ours out of Boulder, but also like the jargony, WIP, they're going to be like, what? So what do you think we lose when we try to use all these big words?
Well, I think it's kind of a balance, right? Because I think that if you're like a go-getter and you really want to be this industry, you're going to be uncomfortable with the language, but you're going to learn it, right? But we shouldn't be tailoring everything to people who are incredibly ambitious. Sometimes ambition doesn't start off, immediately. Sometimes it comes when you feel comfortable, right? And so I think that when we're not making an effort for people to feel comfortable on day one, and we're in a way like not like advertently. It's definitely a subconscious thing, but like when we are excluding them with the jargon and we're not allowing for that comfort, and so much of like creativity and staying somewhere comes from, you know, a little bit of comfort. I think that we're losing out on talent that can grow and talent that we can foster. I mean, I think it's
Right.
like, I think in general, we have a problem with like acquisition and retention in this industry. Everyone wants to be, not everyone, but like there are so many
Right.
people trying to get into this industry. But I think that we have a retention problem. And I can't help but think that like our jargon is a large part of that and how people start out at
Yeah.
shops too.
So I will say that one thing to think about that I think has gone away. And listen, I've been
Mhm.
around a minute. This to me, this still remains an apprenticeship kind of business.
Mhm.
And I remember starting out in radio and not having a clue how anything worked. And I would go into the studio just to learn as much as I possibly can. Fortunately, I had somebody who was, really, really great at teaching. But where do you tell us a little bit about your story? Because again, we all come up a certain way, and there's a person or people, even if they're not officially, you're not apprenticing with them, their impact and their tutelage, speaking of big words, it has been valuable. So I'm curious about how you soaked it all in, because you went to FSU,
Mhm.
but then after that, it's like, what's next?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there were a lot of like places and you know, like Miami Ad School that definitely like taught me so much and I absorbed as much as possible. But I think that when you think about like that one person that kind of like sticks with you and kind of like shapes your outlook on the work, on the industry, that for me was my first boss in the industry, Adam Schaefer at Five Cannons in Jacksonville. He had a very I don't think he'll mind me saying this. He has a pretty cynical viewpoint on the
Good.
industry, which I think like is healthy, right? Because
Yeah,
it
I agree.
allows us to take a step back and like, you know, monitor the bullshit and, you know, try
Yep.
to do better. And he kind of was just like, he really helped me, made me feel comfortable. And, you know, if I had questions, he never made me feel dumb for that. And like he knows I sent him this book. We had a conversation. He's like, yeah, that was one of those things where it's like the language is annoying and it doesn't have to be like this. And I think that, you know, working with him for him, that kind of inspired me to become a teacher and, you know,
Yeah.
to like mentor at founders and just like try to help people feel comfortable. And my current boss is Tanya and Chacha, the co-founders of Founders, that like built the agency on that of just like
Yep.
how can we make people feel as comfortable as possible, because that's how you get the best talent and that's how you keep the best talent too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, that's true. Here's what I love is that you're making this a full 10-week course at
Mm-hmm.
Miami Ad School Punta Cana. So for indies who can't build an entire curricula, but want to adopt this creative exorcism of sorts, especially at onboarding, what's the simplest way to turn intimidating industry concepts into tools that empower instead of exclude, in your opinion? So if I'm an indie and I'm like, oh wow, I didn't even realize that we were doing this, but clearly we are. We have to shift this, and here's how we do that.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from buy the book, and she signed it to Jeff. Hope you enjoy. No, I'm kidding. To that.
I would be
I've been
mortified.
called worse. My late aunt Pauline used to spell my name Dough. Dough. So
Oh, incredible.
we never told her it was wrong because it was still just an an ongoing gag.
Yeah, of course.
But back to the question. I've stalled enough for you here.
And the question being, how can
Yeah,
we
if you're an
kind of
indie,
look
it's
out
like
for the jargon?
yeah, and it's like if you're an indie, especially bringing new talent in, like how do you how do you break this habit of, newbie comes in, it's like, all right, this KPI is this, that, and the other thing. Like, what advice would you give to indies that just need to pump the brakes a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if we think about onboarding, we all have the presentation that we use for onboarding, right? Like,
Right.
so, or like a collection of documents, and that's fine. But I think it starts from like literally that onboarding presentation, go through it, like name somebody inclusions are, or whatever you want to do, and have them go through it. And like any word that is an acronym, or you think that like somebody outside this industry wouldn't understand, just like take a second to define it, or like put a little asterisk and note to self, like when you're having this onboarding meeting, whether it's in person or on Zoom, like go ahead and define that word, because you know whoever you're talking to is going to be super confused too. And I mean, it
Yeah.
starts in the onboarding process, and then it trickles down to like Slacks, internal emails, even setting up an internal meeting can be so cryptic. So I think it's just like
Right.
taking a second, like who's your audience, who's on this invite, are they going to know what I'm talking about? And if not, like, should I take 2 seconds to maybe like spell out this acronym?
Right. Yeah, because even though we do our best as educators and this is obviously great, the there we can't teach everything all the time to everyone. And you're bringing somebody in who is not necessarily fully formed, and so I do agree on the onboarding. That is the responsibility. Let's talk about the design. Little gothic thing going there.
Mm-hmm.
What was the impetus with that? It's so good. It's and
Thanks.
really like sturdy quality. You didn't skimp. You didn't skimp.
It was yeah, I really tried to make it honestly as affordable as possible, but there was an iteration where the pages were completely see-through, and I was like, okay, I need to go a little bit better on the
No,
paper.
this is so good. It's really well done. So
Thank
it
you.
was designed by Peyton Foley, illustrated by Colega Soberanis.
Yes, yeah, he's based in Mexico City, I pretty sure, or Merida, one of those two. He was fantastic. I mean, I had this idea, and because my own personal brand, I'm just like a huge fan of the macabre. I did a little reverse engineering. Sorry to pull a word in there, but I did do a little reverse
Macabre.
engineering. And I was just like, I wanted to match my vibe. So let me like tailor the messaging to that. And then I was just kind of like, well, that's easy. These words are terrifying. And I like anything Victorian and that like English.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
here.
like the English
Oh,
Gothic type.
I love
Yeah.
peeling this onion.
Yeah. So I took some of my favorite Gothic works, like The Nightmare and The Veiled Virgin and the Mozart statue in Prague. And I linked up with Colega and I was like, can you help me with some like halftone illustrations, just like here and there sprinkled throughout? And he was like, yeah, do you want them to have anything to do with the content? I was like, no, don't worry about it.
I love that. The other thing is that is your blood in the ink.
Sweat and tears, blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to ask.
Yeah.
Should I wait? Is this in red? Oh shit! It is.
Mm-hmm.
I am not going to ask.
Okay.
Should I ask?
You can ask.
I don't want to ask. I'm not going to
Okay.
ask. All
right.
Okay, so hold on. Let's back up a second. Macabre. So like horror. All that you like horror films?
Love.
Okay, so I'm like a rom-com guy. I can't do horror films, right? So I'm like a low rent American Hugh Grant. Not even close to that. No, it's not even, not even remote. I don't even know what the hell I am. People say I look like Dana Carvey, so I'll take it. Whatever. How did this start?
The fascination?
Yeah.
My dad's a total weirdo, totally into macabre, gothic stuff.
Okay.
So I think like growing up, he would just like he loved Halloween, it's his favorite holiday, and we would always go to like different Halloween places. I watched horror movies at, a way too young of an age, but
Sure.
now I turned out fine. I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it just like stemmed from that. He always kind of like encouraged the fascination with macabre because he's like that himself. And then as horror kind of like transforms and becomes a little more than Poltergeist. Not that that's not a great movie, but like we have
it was, yeah.
We have something like Long Legs coming out with Nick Cage, which was like divine in every way. I think it's
Right.
like,
Right.
I think it's just a fun time to be a horror fan.
Everybody likes Nick Cage. Yeah, that's that. All right, cool. I love hearing the backstory on that. No, I'm more of a comedy guy, so I don't.
Got it.
It's like I did Scream, and
Mm,
it was down at the Oregon coast, off season, and we're staying at a place that it's like condos,
mhm,
wind whipping through, no one there but us and a couple of other people, and we
mhm.
watched Scream. Bad idea.
Yeah. So is that when you realized you weren't a horror fan?
I
I'm
was
gonna
like,
flip that
you
question
know
on
what?
you.
I got to stop being such a baby. I got to watch
Mhm.
this. And then I was like, yeah, I can't do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not
And
for
listen,
everyone.
I think Jordan Peele is brilliant.
Yeah. Really
Just
good.
absolutely just one of the most brilliant people on the planet. I just can't do
Hmm.
it. Just can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that's okay. That's
I
why
know.
we have rom-com.
That's why we do have rom-com, although that's
Hmm.
getting very predictable right now. I like a good spy thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah, slow horses. I've been into. I love it. Yeah, I love a little intrigue. A little intrigue. Boy,
Cool.
we've gotten off topic. What else would you like to add to this? Let's use a little shameless self-promotion about Founders. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
cool story, cool agency, cool work. What have you been working on lately?
A lot of Netflix. We're still kind of
It's
like
great.
coming off the high of Squid Games, and that was really fun.
So great.
They're great to work with. Every brief is so fun, and they're so delightful. Everyone we have worked with. Of course, we're doing some Spotify. We just had like a We Love NYC pop up with like a rap boo boo that Stephen Colbert kind of featured, which was funny. People really love the rap boo boo, so that was cool. Yeah, just a bunch of
Keep
stuff
on
here
keeping
and
on.
there.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's great. No, listen,
It's
I
fun.
appreciate all of you being members, and we haven't gotten to your Meet an Indie Agency interview yet, so you're giving us a little bit of a sweetener there. Where do they go to get the book again? Let's see. The book can be found at theaddictionary.com. I'm just going to tell everybody right now, get the this is so good. Get the signed copy. Come on, stump a little bit. Oh my God. Yeah. So there's the story. Your blood, sweat, and tears. So I have only so much blood I can give. Yeah.
Yeah.
But seriously, for real, please support this work. Please support our students. Katie, I'm going to put you backstage. It was a genuine pleasure hanging out with you today. Appreciate the support of what we're doing, and keep on keeping on.
Thanks for having me. It's
You
great.
bet. All right, I'll be right back. Everybody, I'm going to be off Monday and Tuesday. So if you have anything, bother Kyle. It's true. I'm taking a break. I'm just going to do a lot of nothing. Listen, I want to thank all of you for being members. If you are interested, go to indieagency.news, see what we got cooking. We revamped the join page. It actually now makes sense. But very easy to get a hold of us as well. Zanger at indieagency.news. On behalf of everybody at Indie Agency News, I wish thee a fine weekend. Thanks for joining us.